Telling you all evening, we're in town because there has been or is an ongoing International Investors Forum and Conference event that started yesterday, going all the way to tomorrow, bringing together about 5,000 people. It's been chock-a-block, and we decided to be here with the governor who's been leading from the front. In fact, several months ago, we saw this ad about the conference, and she's been pushing it all the way. And this is what it has come to. Governor Gladys Wanga joins us on the bench. Makofi kwake tafadhali. There you go. Right next to us, Ken Odegi. He's Africa Regional Head for Solar at Reddington Green Energy. Makofi kwake pia. Right next to him is Dr. Joash Alo. He's CECM of Water, Environment, Forestry and Energy. Makofi. And on the very far end, Professor Bernard Mwok. He's a climate change expert. Welcome all. And welcome to our live audience. We'll be getting questions and comments from the audience very shortly. But first, to the governor. Governor, congratulations. So far, it's been really good on TV. It looks really good. What's it been like on the ground?
Thank you, Jeff. The ground has been great. And really, to see you in Homa Bay is great. And I hope when I told you on Sunday Live the last time, I told you that in Homa Bay we don't arrive, we land. And you couldn't believe that there is actually Kabunde here. Yes. And I'm happy that today you landed. We landed. Into Homa Bay.
We didn't arrive.
In style. So yes. Really, really welcome. But we've had a great 2 days, great discussions on the people of Homa Bay and our priorities and our value chains, agricultural value chains, and what we have in store for investors, including, as I mentioned, cotton, whether it's fish and aquaculture, whether it's tourism, whether it's edible oils. And today we signed 9 MOUs, and we have about 11 other letters of intent with investors who want to come into the Homa Bay space. And Jeff, the biggest is we've put Homa Bay on the map. And people are talking about Homa Bay, you know. You remember Barack Obama's speech when he was first elected, and he said he's talking to those huddled around radios in forgotten corners of the world. And, you know, Homa Bay was seeming like, you know, one of those forgotten corners, but now we are out there. And when people are speaking about Kenya, they probably will have to speak about Homa Bay and the investment opportunities that we have. And this is mostly for the people of Homa Bay. We are people-centered. And sometimes people ask, maybe you're sitting at Tomboya University, what is this about the people? And what we're doing here is clearly about putting money in the pockets of the people. Because if our farmers have markets, then we're getting there. But this evening we're talking about green investments. And there's a lot of opportunity around green investments. And I'd like to really thank our partners, GIZ, for making this possible here at Tomboya. I think it's really, really excellent that this is possible.
Absolutely. Here. Ken Odegi, speak of green energy. Your solar is your forte, right?
Absolutely.
Can it happen here in Homa Bay?
Thank you so much.
Is it happening? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for this opportunity, and good evening to our viewers this evening. Solar is one of the huge, abundant sources of energy we've got. One of the resources that we must actually be able to utilize and utilize fully. Today, we've been talking about matters climate change. At the very core of climate change is issues of fossil fuel, that today the global order is actually having a discussion that how can we be able to cut down on fossil fuel. Solar will play a very critical role in regards to that particular discussion, and that is why we are coming in as an investor to be able to actually put at the very center stage issues of solar, but also most importantly, to be able to actually bring in the technology that can actually be able to help us to accelerate solar and deployment of solar in Homa Bay County. We are very, very lucky today that we are one of the entities that actually signed an MOU with Homa Bay County to be able to actually lead from the forefront as a county that is actually going to be able to deploy solar, to be able to actually power most of the entities, as well as the industrial zone that was actually given a charter by the president when he visited this particular county yesterday. So that is at the core of what we want to make happen.
All right, Dr. Joe Eshelo, you're a man who wears many hats. All right, I see environment, forestry, energy. What is your takeaway from this investors event?
Homa Bay is the greatest place to invest in. We have the best leadership. The environment is conducive. We have all the legal framework and institutional framework that every investor would need. And anybody who comes to invest in Homa Bay will get it right. This is the small paradise in Africa, south of Sahara.
Professor Bernard Mock, climate change is real. There are people out there who are in denial that climate change doesn't exist. What do you tell them?
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening, our viewers. Jeff, I'm happy that you are saying climate change is real, because actually it is real. And I just want to put things into perspective. We are living in a world that has actually run out of time. We actually ran out of time. We are sitting on a time bomb. And business as usual means that the world as we know it today may not be that way. I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but that's what science tells us, and science can never lie, that the world will not be the same. Every single community in this county, if I start with the Homa Bay, every single village, every single household, every single family is grappling with the impact of climate change. They come in many forms. And when we are talking about Lake Victoria region, it's a region that is known worldwide for its high climate variability. That means, therefore, that the rainfalls are variable, temperatures are variable, every factor is variable. And this makes it real. The people who are living around Lake Victoria region are so vulnerable to the impact of climate change. They come in terms of floods. And in this county where we are, just a month ago, everywhere there are floods. And it's good that this conference is coming so soon after we are seeing this so that people don't forget. But I can bet, I tell you, Jeff, that a few days from now or a few weeks from now, we are going to talk of serious droughts. We are also looking at impacts like the rising water levels. That has been there. History tells us that the last time that we saw that high level of water in Lake Victoria was 1960s. That was during they call it the Uhuru rains, when the East Africa countries were actually facing the highest amount of rainfall. That was the highest time. It took almost 60 years. And in 2020, 2021, then it came back again. That was 60 years. So we could talk about a return period of about 60 years for the lake to reach that level. But after 2021, again this year we are seeing the same thing. So it's just 2 years. So it has reduced from 60 years to 2 years. And you can be sure that going forward, this is going to be a usual phenomenon. And the communities around Lake Victoria are really, really impacted by climate change. When the water levels are rising, it means that they have to leave their farms. A lot of farms are destroyed. Settlements are destroyed, and this is really impacting on the lives of the communities. It's only that, or not only that. We are also talking about crop production, agricultural production. The agricultural yields are going down because of the poor distribution of rainfall, the droughts. We are also having impacts like pests and diseases to the crops, and also human diseases. So these are all impacts of climate change that we are seeing here. So as we stand today, really something must be done. And I hope that as I was walking around here, I saw a lot of investors. But now what was coming in the back of my mind, what type of investment are we attracting in Homa Bay? I think that will be a very big question as we move forward.
Maybe that's the question. Yeah, okay, yeah. Governor, the owner of the hotel where I'm staying, his name's Joseph. He decided to drive me here this evening. Big shout out, Joseph, wherever you are, big shout out. And he was telling me what Gladys Wanga has done in a year and change, the governor before didn't do in 10 years. That's what he said. I didn't prompt him. We were just talking as he was driving. So, the question is, what is it? I mean, how come, do women have a different vision than men? Help us here.
Jeff, first of all, I'd like to thank the people of Homa Bay for giving me this chance, and I'm happy that this is now consensus. I know Joseph, and I know that we were on different wavelengths during the elections, and that he said that means that there's really an impact, of the work that we're doing. But first of all, you must have a good, team that helps you to carry your vision, and that I think we are blessed to have a good team, a strong team that helps us to push the vision. But then you must have that vision. Where do we want to go? And what do we want to do in the short term? And what do we want to do in the medium term? And what do we want to do in the long term? And then after putting the vision in place, then you must have the drive, the passion, the resilience to achieve it, because you cannot achieve it by just sitting around. And then you must view transformation. Aim for transformation. And transformation is not easy. It's painful. It's not a status quo issue. You cannot be in your comfort zone. So it means you're always striving to be better. And that's what I think we are moving Homa Bay towards, and with a lot of cooperation from the people. And it's about hearing the people's voices. What do they really want? And we have set up a public participation model, including our climate change programs. We have village clusters where people speak to what they think is affecting them the most. And every village then moves to the locations and then to the ward level. So what we are moving with is by hearing from the people, having them participate more strongly, hearing where they think things are not going right, accepting when things are not going right, and accepting to correct what is not going right. But Jeff, I can tell you that we are not going to sit on our laurels thinking that we've done good. We have a long way to go. This is a marathon. We must run it, and must run it seriously, and we must remain focused. So there is no time we're going to be complacent and say, oh, yes, look, we've reached here, so we are great people. No, we are far from where we need to be as a county, and we are going to work towards getting ourselves and our people to where we need to be. And that is when we have adapted to the issues of climate change. We have attracted investments, because you can't solve all the problems. Public sector cannot solve all the problems, Jeff, that we have. Sure. We need private sector to come in. And this is why we have this investors conference, so that in green investments, for example, whether you're talking about sustainable and renewable energy, like Reddington here was speaking about, I think we need private sector in that area. We need private sector in the area of carbon trading. We have about 12,000 hectares of forest land, gazetted and non-gazetted forests, and most of them are degraded. So if we plant all of them, Jeff, and within the objective of moving carbon, trading from about 10 billion, between 10 billion and $40 billion by 2030, Homa Bay needs to be part of that conversation. And we are ready for it, and we have the land, and we have the forests, and they're gazetted, they're non-gazetted. We need people to come on board. And in the area of renewable energies, it's not just solar. We have potential for wind. We have the Riwa Special Economic Zone, where we need to be powered, and we need, and what Professor Mok was asking, what investments? Are we just attracting any investment? Are we going to bring industries running on diesel and so on that are going to also contribute still to the climate menace? No, we want green investments, and that's why we are putting out the Special Economic Zone in Riwa as well. We have geothermal potential, Jeff, and geothermal potential around the Homa Hills. And we are looking for investments around that area. There's a whole investments area of biogas and so on. And we have investors in the room here who are also interested in these areas. So, Jeff, we are focused. We are speaking to governance issues, building of institutions, accountability, transparency for the resources that we receive on behalf of the people of Homa Bay, accountability with our investors. Because a lot of time investors are discouraged by thinking that county government or the government is going to be asking them for bribes and kickbacks and all manner of things. And this is something that we are building institutions to say, no, no to corruption, no to kickbacks, no to these things. Let investors come. All we need from them is their investment. All we need from them is jobs for our people in these green sectors, Jeff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ken Odegi, the investors here in the room right now, why should they invest in Homa Bay?
Homa Bay is one of those counties that has endless potential. Homa Bay is now leading from the front line. One of the critical things that Homa Bay County has done is to dedicate resources and personnel to champion matters climate change. Now, climate change affects all of us, the environment, biodiversity, as well as issues of sustainability. Today, the step that Homa Bay County has done is basically a step towards the right direction to be able to actually inform all the investors that are very keen in Homa Bay to know that Homa Bay is one of those countries that matters sustainability, that can actually ensure that their industry will be able to run and run sustainably, can be guaranteed. Homa Bay County has actually put together policies, guidance that will actually give favor and advantages to entities that actually want to come and invest in Homa Bay County. And we as Reddington, what we are trying to do to actually facilitate that, we are bringing on board sustainable energy through solar. And that is at the core of what almost all investors need to actually be able to operate successfully in Homa Bay. So Homa Bay definitely, yes, is a place that opportunities will be there, but the right sustainable power will also be made available to make sure that whatever the investors want to do in this particular region will be substantively and sustainably powered. So yes, Homa Bay is the right place to actually make a choice.
Governor, you spoke about carbon a moment ago, and I'd like to turn to the audience where Esa Mutuma is a carbon markets specialist. Esther, wherever you are, you have a point, comment, question?
Yeah, I'll make a comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, really honored to be here tonight. I'm Esa Mutuma, CEO of Poreka Group, and we've come to Homa Bay because we've seen the progress that Homa Bay is making and the invitation to come and play the role of actively demystifying these carbon credits and carbon markets, because it's big buzz, big words that everybody talks about, but we need to demystify it to the people and see how do we make it so simple so that everybody who's either an investor, whether global or local corporates, can actually come in and make the green investments. So at Poreka, what we are doing in other counties and what we hope to do with Homa Bay County is work with the communities, the mwananchi on the ground, to develop carbon sinks, because like our Excellency Governor has mentioned, there's so much potential. We are talking billions of dollars. Yesterday I was at the UNEA Assembly as a delegate representing the private sector, and one of the conversations that came up there is that there's potential by Africa to produce up to 300 million tons. So we are talking very big numbers, and the African continent and the southern globe is really the solution to all these climate crises that we are facing. So the question is, how do we monetize that? How do we change the narrative from being the victims to actually being part of the solution? Because this the impacts of the climate change are here with us, and they are affecting our people. So we are looking forward to working together with Homa Bay County. We are very excited at what they've put together, very organized. Their farmers are organized, the data is organized, very easy to actually now carry on the conversations, and we're really looking forward to this being a benchmark for other counties in the country as well.
I think, was it Professor Mock or Dr. Joash Lowe was talking about earlier on, do people on the ground understand what carbon credit is? You have to explain it to people. I mean, it's tough enough in the nation's capital, but out here in Mashinani, do people understand? I mean, it's a fair question.
Well, I know Professor Mook will react to that, but one thing I need to let you know, Jeff, as the governor said, is that Homa Bay has ensured that there are legal framework that would help us to address challenges with regard to climate change. One thing that the county government of Homa Bay has done is to develop Homa Bay County Climate Change Policy. And we also have Homa Bay County Climate Act of 2022 and Homa Bay Climate Change Funds of 2022. Now, in the Act, it is envisioned that decisions will be made from the ground, as the governor did say, because the county government of Homa Bay is run on a people-centric kind of manner, to the extent that decisions are made from the ground. And so what is there is that one of the institutions that have been put in place is what we call World Climate Change Committees. And this is made up of people who are from the villages, And from the villages, they form the ward committees. They have been trained on the question you have asked with regard to matters to do with climate change or carbon sequestration. But again, we also have what we call Homa Bay Climate Change Steering Committee that is chaired by Her Excellency the Governor herself. The steering committee ensures that matters to do with climate change, are adhered to with regard to the Homa Bay Climate Change Act of 2022. We also have Homa Bay Climate Change Steering Committee, which I do chair, and this brings together the technocrats within the county and without the county. Yes, I would say that there are people on the ground who understand matters to do with carbon trade, but this is a conversation that is ongoing. And as a department, as this county executive committee member in charge of climate change, we are grateful that with partners we've been able to sensitize our people, especially our committees, to reach to the ground and let people know what carbon trade is all about. But I rest my case because Professor Muok is an expert, and I would want him to go further than that with all the authority that he has. I thank you.
Prof?
I take it that you want me to complete. Yeah, thank you. I just want to put this in a way that we can all understand. And I'm taking from, we have this process going on throughout the world, and the world leaders in climate change has proposed several actions that has to be taken if we are to address the issue around climate change. Some of these, if well done, can really solve the problem, can really address the problem. Some of the big ones, like we have to look at net zero by 2050. That means there's no carbon emission by 2050. That is a target that the world has put forward. We are also looking at doubling the energy efficiency. That is also another target that the world has put out. We are also looking at tripling the deployment of renewable energy by 2050. So all these are really good ambition. But now the problem becomes, as much as they are really good ambitions, they are just as good as the papers that they are written on, if there's no funding for it. And that now brings us the question of climate investment. Why do we need climate investment? For a long time, people have been thinking that addressing climate change is the work of the government, the work of the donors, the work of NGOs. But we forgot the most important player, that's the private sector. They have the money. The government don't have the money. And so there's a clear change that we must move from science to business so that it can make sense to the private sector. Because for private sector, the bottom line is money. And if climate change can address that issue of money, then we are able to get to tap into private sector investment. So we have to look at a way how we can attract this private sector. How do we attract them? There are so many ways, strategies that are used for attracting the private sector. And this is where I'm coming to the question. One of them that is obviously people know is the carbon credit. I know with carbon credit we have the two types, the compliance type and also the voluntary type. Compliance type mainly for the first world, or the countries with big industries, where there's a cap put for them that they cannot pass that limit. But when you are coming to the third world, then we are talking of the voluntary market, because we know Africa, for example, we are just contributing about 3% of the total greenhouse emissions. So really, there's no cap to it. So what happens that in the voluntary market, the farms, the big farms in the West, are trading in the carbon market in Africa. So if you plant trees, I know each credit is 1 ton of carbon equivalence. Every time you save 1 ton of carbon, then you get 1 credit. So they can pollute the environment, if I may use that, but they can emit emissions, but they come to Africa and buy that credit, the carbon from them. But that is actually about the carbon trading. And then there are also other means. I've talked about the carbon trading. We are also talking of venture capitals, and also we have the venture capitals, we have the carbon credits, and those are really key areas how we can address carbon trading.
Yeah. Governor, you wanted to comment on that?
Yeah, I wanted to just agree with Esther. You know, you asked Jeff, do people know about this carbon credit? They don't. Here, in the communities, they know nothing about this carbon credit. In fact, people go to communities and tell them, let's plant trees. I will give you free seedlings. So people think, oh, thank you very much for the free seedlings. Yes, let's plant the trees. No, in fact, in addition to the seedlings, I'll build for you a school. Oh, you're the most generous man, Jeff. Yet, they might be trading for carbon, you know, and the communities are really know nothing and are getting nothing. Right. So the sensitization of communities is a very key issue. Communities must understand that if we're going to get into this thing, what are we getting? And are we getting our money's worth? And that's why I was happy that the Climate Change Act was amended just before the Africa Climate Summit to include the fact that communities must now be involved. And the regulations are just being done now. The share of the community for the communities when people trade in carbon. What share goes to the community? What share goes to county governments? What share then goes to the private investor? And that's why I'm happy with a program like FLOCA, which is a World Bank, Danida, KFW, GOK-funded program, financing locally led climate action, because it has created the things Dr. Lowe was talking about, world climate committees. People are being capacity built, they're being sensitized, but it's not enough. Yeah. We must do more to sensitize communities, because otherwise the communities will be taken advantage of on this carbon trading question. Absolutely. Good point. Prof, this is not a class, okay? Okay. I know you're a professor. you might teach us all the way to midnight or something, Prof. Yeah. Let's move on, if we may. Karen Okombo, talk about solar, right? Karen, are you there? Give Karen the mic. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Ah, Karen, thank you.
Because of my height, I will have to stand. Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Okombo from Dream EP Global Energy. We've been running a solar mini-grid in Remba Island, one of the islands in Lake Victoria, since 2017. My question is to Mr. Reddington. We both know that solar running a mini-grid or investing in a mini-grid is capital intensive. And for companies that don't get grants, then it means the end users, which is the communities, get to bear the brunt or the cost in terms of what they get to pay. So one, how can we work in partnership with companies that are have already invested or are already running these private mini-grids within these islands to bring the cost of power to these consumers down? And two, is there a chance that we can expand to other islands that are not within the REREC demand? So I know the national government is doing other islands, but an island like Kiwa and Kibogi, we've done assessment and they are ready for investment, but then it's the financing that is lacking. Thank you.
Good question. The beautiful question. I know for the longest of time, one of the challenges we faced, or most IPPs have actually faced, in being able to put together mini-grids like what you've done, is to be able to access financing. Financing, for the longest of time, most financial institutions have actually not had specialized funds to be able to support and promote renewable energy. Today, what we've been able to do, which is actually happening as we speak, we've gone out and we've brought in a little bit of structured financing that is tailor-made to actually be able to support in the renewable sector. And these are actually financing that are relatively affordable compared to what the commercial banks actually offer in this particular market. So yes, the opportunities, those opportunities in terms of financing are still not pretty well developed in this particular region, especially in Kenya. But when we look outside the country, there are few entities that have specialized specifically in green energy financing and funding. So we could be able to have a discussion to be able to see that, for example, an entity like Reddington that has got operations in the Middle East, where we've been able to actually expand our reach and reach out to some of the entities that actually run green financing. How best can we be able to support you on that? And in regards to your second question about can we be able to move to some of the other islands within the region, absolutely yes. That is the space we want to play in. So it's a discussion we'll want to pick up with you, be able to support you in terms of issues of technology, be able to support you in terms of issues of financing, which we actually bring on board with our partners to be able to make it happen. Because I know most of those mini grids or most of the islands you're talking about are completely off-grid. And sometimes the national government may not be able to reach out to them in good time. So absolutely, that is the space we want to play in. That is the space we want to play also with the local IPPs.
Right. Yeah. Folks, I want to take a break, come back, talk some more. We have some investors in the house. Let's see what they have to say. We have students from this very esteemed university, Tom Mboya University, who want to say something, who want to ask some questions. It's all about the youth, the future. And then we have you guys to talk some more. Convince us why we are here or why we should be here. Jeff Kananga live on the road. We're at the Tom Mboya University in the heart of Homa Bay. We're talking to the governor, Gladys Wanga, and a whole host of stakeholders. It's an important time in our history. You need to keep tweeting at Kananga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back.